Hello, welcome to Blue Rim Design. My name is Matthew, and I'm excited today to be able to show you a little bit about Codepen. Codepen is an awesome tool. It is essentially a text editor, and it can be very useful um, when you're developing or just being creative. Um, First, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a new account with Codepen. It's pretty simple, just like creating accounts in many other services. But the URL is codepen.io, and to sign up, you simply click in the upper right hand corner. Something that I do want to make mention of that's really important is you aren't required to purchase a paid version or subscribe to this paid subscription. You can just join CodePen for free, and you can go ahead and engage in this. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to do it because I have already done it before. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account real quick. And right off the bat, you can kind of see the behavior of CodePen. These cards here are pens that other people have created using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And they can be really fun to look through and to analyze. You get a hands-on look at how other people code, and there are plenty of awesome examples. But that is only part of the awesome features of CodePen. What is really impressive is what you can do by creating a new pen. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see we have just a text area, an area that we can begin writing our code in the three main languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right there. And it is ready to go. You can just go ahead and show you real quick. It is responsive. It'll update with what you type in there, the styles that you apply. We apply an H1 here. And it saves on Control S, which is really great. You don't normally get that behavior online. And we now have a pen that says "Hello World." We've colored it blue, and we have just access to lots of stuff right off the bat without ever having to create a file structure and anything really. So one thing that I do want to make mention of here is in your settings, you're able to actually apply something called a preprocessor to your text areas where you write the code. A preprocessor is an extension to a language that allows you to have more features for that language. The one that I'm most familiar with is SAS as well as SCSS, which is just a wonderful preprocessor that allows you to add variables, mix-ins, which are essentially functions, and many other features like nesting to your CSS, which can really cut down on development time for CSS and reduce the amount of repetition that you have in your code. SAS or SCSS in the end compiles down to normal CSS. And all of that can be configured here in your pen settings. I like to have my CSS on by default to SCSS. It's just, I rarely code in normal CSS anymore, and it is just so much more powerful when you're able to use a preprocessor. Other than that, there are also options to use preprocessors for JavaScript, like TypeScript and others there, as well as HTML. I'm not familiar with any of these preprocessors for HTML, but they are pretty useful. I am, however, familiar with GitHub flavored Markdown. But essentially, a preprocessor is the same for each language, no matter what its name is. It is trying to increase your productivity with writing that language. And this is just such a rich feature that Codepen has to be able to integrate these preprocessors without ever having to install software on your machine. You're able to just get off the ground with whatever project you would like really quickly without ever having to configure it. So going to the pen settings again, our behavior, as you can see, we can use auto save and auto update. You can disable or enable any of these. Kind of a traditional spacing, at least from what I'm familiar with, is to have 2 tab spaces be the width of your tab. I know that really probably didn't make very much sense, but as you can see, our options here are either to have spaces or tabs. You should go ahead and put it on tabs if you'd like to just follow this this counsel or advice, and set it to two lengths of that tab. You'll understand a little bit more about what I mean when you create an account and when you start using Codepen. You can get pretty creative with your pens by giving them titles and descriptions as well as tags. Codepen is something of a social community where people are able to save and share pens with one another. There are likes and shares and forks, all different kinds of features for pens. I'd also like to cover a little bit more about your settings for your profile. Codepen has these settings that you can set as defaults for all your pens, and also just how your Codepen is formatted. So there's lots of theming options as well as font options. Here's our spacing again, as well as your defaults for your preprocessors. As you can see, I have mine set to SCSS, and it's awesome because it also, when it compiles that CSS down, I have auto prefixer enabled, which means it's going to identify properties that are not compatible with previous versions of a browser and be able to add in the prefix for that property. Or there's also newer properties that require prefixes for browsers. So it just is really going to be able to help you streamline your code writing and also provide a level of consistency through web browsers by applying this. The setting that I really think is important that you should apply is to autocomplete. Here it is. Initially, on my account, this was not a checked setting, and when I am writing HTML, it's really important to me to be able to have those auto-completing tags, because if not, I'm writing double the characters that I need to. Which brings me to Emmet. Emmet is something, I should probably go back actually. It is, oh, here it is. Great. Something that can be applied to both HTML and CSS if you would like it active or not, but essentially it's a way to very quickly write just vanilla HTML or CSS. And it probably also works with preprocessors. I haven't tested that out. That'd be a great thing for you to try if you're interested in HTML and CSS preprocessors with Emmet. It's a very just valuable tool to be able to use, and I can actually illustrate some of this functionality. I also explain it a little bit in my video on building a hamburger icon, but I will go ahead and show you what I mean by using Emmet right now. So with HTML, the div element is very common, and it's very easy to assign a class to a div element using Emmet just creating it spontaneously. So say we are creating a card element or a card component, and we need a container, we need an image, and we need a heading and text for that. I'm going to go ahead and format that out really quickly in Emmet, and so you can watch and analyze that. So my container, to create it, I'm just going to start writing a CSS, what looks like a CSS class. If I hit tab, what Emmet does is it adds in those opening and closing tags, and it applies that class in CSS that I was using to that div element. It's a very handy tool. And we also know that we need an image. Well, an image tag is in a div, so it might be a little bit different. And the way we're going to format that for an image tag is we're going to go image and then dot. And we're going to start our class again, so we're going to go card image tab. And it gives us, we don't have to write the source or alternative attributes of that element, and we can just start right away. I don't have anything prepared, but this is just an example. We also need a heading, so we're going to do an H4 card heading, and now you can really see how all of this works together. We also want a paragraph for some text. And there you have it. That's how Emmet works with Codepen. It's a great tool, very easy to use. I will be including the link to the Emmet documentation in the description, or if you are viewing this from the website, in the blog. All in all, Codepen saves you a lot of time. It saves you the work and trouble of having to download Node.js and installing modules to get preprocessors up and running. And really, it's just a very slick, clean way to begin development on projects.